Hi guys, Kaza here. Welcome back. We're back with more Hakuoki with Hijikata. Isn't he grand? Especially after the last one with all the battles. With Kazama? I think it was Kazama, not Kazuma. One of those. Trying to remember the top of my head, sorry. But yeah, we're moving on to the next chapter. Chapter 2. So let's see how that goes next. Alright, let's get going. Chapter 2. There you go. February 1865. Wow, I've been here a while. Shoot, when did our first start? Oh my god, it's been like a year. Because when we first started, it was January. Damn. We've been here a while. Alright, first year here. After breakfast one day, I found myself on my way to the common room with a tray bearing tea. Tea's ready. I made my way around the room, pouring a cup of tea for each person there, making sure not to spill any. It was a routine I had begun to feel accustomed to.
Oh, すまないね、Yukimura-kun.
Oh, thank you, Yukimura. He gave me a warm smile as I handed him his tea.
やっぱり寒い日には熱めのお茶がうまいね。
There's nothing quite so delicious as hot tea on a cold day. Thank you. I felt a flush of pride at his words, even though I knew quite well that serving tea was hardly anything impressive. Just the same, I felt as if I was helping out in a way, and that was a nice feeling. Okay, I thought we were going to actually do something with the meeting. No, just handing out tea. It had been a year since I had first come to Kyoto in search of my father. Living with the Shinsengumi wasn't easy, but they had helped me look for him. After a year of searching, however, I hadn't found anything. Sometimes I felt like it was hopeless, like I'd never find him, and that I should just give up. But the men in Shinsengumi never gave up. They were always there to cheer me on and keep me going. In a way, I suppose I'd grown to love living with them. And I had even been able to repay them for some of their kindness, for treating the wounded at the Battle of Okita Inn and during the Hamaguri Rebellion. Little by little, I started to feel like I was accepted, as if perhaps I was beginning to fit in. As strange as it might sound, I was beginning to feel as if I had found a place with the Shinsengumi. When Hijikata spoke, his words brought me back to the present.
ヤギさんたちにも世話になったが、この短所もそろそろ手狭になってきたか。
Yagi have been good for us so far, but this place is getting crowded.
まあ、確かに狭くなったな。大使の数も増えてきたし。
True, it is getting a little small, especially with the new guys coming in. You're going to be getting even more soon, right? Heisuke was currently in Edo, recruiting more men for the Shinsengumi ranks. It was always good to have more soldiers, but they were beginning to run out of space at the compound. The rank-and-file soldiers were being packed into smaller and smaller rooms.
広いところに移れるならそれがいいんだけどな。雑魚寝してる連中、かなり辛そうだしな。
If we could move to a bigger place, that'd be great. The guys are starting to get a little grumpy about being packed together in those rooms every night. I couldn't exactly offer to share it, but I was starting to feel guilty for having a room of my own.
だけど、僕たち新選組を受け入れてくれる場所なんて何か心当たりでもあるんですか?
Easy for you to say, but it's going to be hard to find someone who's willing to let us stay at their place. You have something in mind? Hijikata's smile was almost predatory. He's not exactly smiling at the moment, he's kind of frowning, but alright, I'll go with it.
西本願寺。
The Nishihonwanji Temple. What the heck is that? Another name for the Jodo Shinshu Hongowanji Temple in Kyoto. It allowed the Shinsengumi to make the temple their headquarters for a period of time. Well, that spoils it. I'm kidding. Doesn't really if I went to Japanese history, but I didn't study Japanese history, just the language. And I didn't really finish learning all that much.
それ、絶対嫌がられるじゃないですか。
They're gonna like that very much.
反対も強引に押し切るつもりなら、それはそれで土方さんらしいですけど。
You're thinking we'll just force our way in? I guess I wouldn't expect anything less from you, Hijikata. I didn't leave the compound much, except to go on patrol with the men, but I still didn't know Kyoto very well. I had no idea what sort of place this Nishi Hongwanji temple was.
確かにあの寺なら十分広いな。まあ、坊主どもは嫌がるだろうが。
It is pretty big, I have to give you that, but I really don't think the monks are going to take to a bunch of soldiers living in their temple.
それに西本願寺からならいざという時にも動きやすいだろう。
Still, the location's great. We'd be able to get out into the city a lot quicker than from here in Mibu. At the time, the Shinsengumi headquarters was in the Mibu area, which was the outskirts of Kyoto. Harada was right, and that the current location made it difficult for Shinsengumi to reach some parts of Kyoto quickly, which reduced their effectiveness. Still, will they really not want us there? Saito only shrugged. Hi, Saito.
西本願寺は長州に協力的だ。何度か老子をかくまっていたこともある。
The Nishi Hongwanji temple has been cooperating with the Chonshu. Some of their Ronin have stayed there. Oh, if they support the Choshu, then that would make the Shinsengumi their enemy. No wonder then that they hardly welcome us with open arms. That meant a whole nother level of difficulty. Asking for a place to stay was hard enough, but asking that from an enemy? I fell silent and decided to continue as if I had never spoken.
向こうの同意を得るのは決して容易なことではないだろう。
No doubt they'd be less than receptive to our overtures.
しかし我々が西本願寺に移転すれば、長州は身を隠す場所を一つ失うことになる。
On the other hand, if we should move into the Nishi Hongwanji temple, the Choshu would have one less place to hide their agents. Oh! Of course! Not only was the location desirable, but taking the temple would make the enemy's movements more difficult. Whatever problem we had acquired, the temple would likely be worth it.
僧侶の動きを武力で押さえつけるなど見苦しいとは思いませんか
Baby! You don't think it's somewhat uncouth to use force against men with cloth? There was no hiding his distaste for the idea. Hijikata's voice was level but firm as steel.
寺と坊さんを隠れ蓑にして今まで好き勝手してきたのは長州だろう。
The Choshu have used the temple to hide their men, and they couldn't have done that without the help of the monks.
過激な老子を抑える必要があるという点に関しては同意しますが。
I agree with the Choshu must be dealt with, but this seems... His voice trailed off. Although he was still clearly upset, there was little more than he could say or do.
トシの意見はもっともだが、三男君の考えも一理あるな。
Who's that? I don't know you. Who are you? Why are you here? I'm so creeped out by this. Okay. So it's been a while since I've been with you guys, so I'm assuming things have happened with many people, so I should be as freaked out by that. But then you have some slanted eyes compared to everyone else. I agree with Toshi, but I have to concede that Sana has a point. He nods solemnly, apparently deep in thought.
さすがは近藤局長ですね。敵方へまで配慮なさるなど懐が深い。
I guess I didn't want to move his lips, huh? Impressive of always, Chief Kyoto. Maybe a man with a truly open mind can be so considerate of both his enemies and his allies.
そう言われるのはありがたいが、俺など千両もいいところですよ。
Oh, well, it's kind of you to say so, but I fear my behavior is simply imprudent, not open-minded. He blushed and coughed in an attempt at nonchalance as Hijikata and Okita scowled in silence at the exchange. You gonna tell me who that was? There we go, thank you. The man who had just spoke was Kaishitaro Ito, the new deputy commander. He had joined the Shinsengumi only recently. Military Vice Deputy Commander of the Shinsengumi, he's the head of the Hokushin Ito Dojo and loyal to the Emperor. Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Kondo had left Heisuke in Edo and returned early with Ito and some of his men who had come to join the Shinsengumi. He was reputably the master of the Hikoshin Ito sword style and ran a school of his own. Okay, it's a sword style is popular. Alright, got it. Description of the style would have been useful. When Ito was introduced to the captains, none of them seemed particularly pleased with his addition to their ranks. No sooner had Ito and Kondo left the room than they began to talk amongst themselves. I'm just here and you all were just chatting and I just eavesdropped. Because I don't want the reason not to.
伊藤さんは尊王攘夷派の人間と聞いたが、よく新選組に名を連ねる気になったものだな。
I've heard Ito was an imperial nationalist. Why would someone such as him join the Shinsengumi?
長州の奴らと同じ考えってことか。そんな人間が俺らと相入れるのかね。
He's like the Chunsu then. Huh. You really think someone like that can get along with us? Hijikata grunted and pursed his lips for a moment.
砂漠上位派の近藤さんと上位の面では合意したんだろう。
Kondo's a national loyalist. They might not agree on the Shogun and the Emperor, but they're both nationalists, through and through. They might disagree about who should run the country, but neither of them wanted a foreign nation exerting its control over their country.
それに近藤さんの砂漠には幕府による尊王を目指している面もあるしな。
Besides, Kondo's a loyalist without a doubt, and he has a few imperialist tendencies of his own. Perhaps the different factions weren't quite so staunchly divided as they might appear. Would Kondo and the Shinsengumi work for a future where the shogunate controlled the country, but the emperor was still treated with respect? That seemed like a solution that could make everyone happy. If that was the case, then Kondo's version of the national loyalism was a wonderful thing.
つうが伊藤さんが来て喜んでるのって実は三男さんなんじゃねえの？
I figured the only one of us would be very happy about Ito showing up with Sana, right?
まあ一刀流つながりだしな。
True. They do both practice Ito, right?
伊藤さんとも知り合いなんだろ？それに三男さんも尊王派だもんな。
He knows Ito too, doesn't he? And Sana's a bit of a loyalist. I wouldn't have guessed that Sana and Ito had so much in common. His expression didn't suggest that he's particularly happy, though.
確かに伊藤さんとは以前から面識があります。学識も高く、弁舌に優れた方ですよ。
Yes, I've met Ito. He's well educated and a skilled orator.
秀でた参謀の加入で、ついに総長はお役御免というわけですね。
With such a gifted deputy commander, I suppose that the Shinsengumi has little need for a colonel. Some of his words hung in the air, heavy and awkward. I didn't understand the ranks of the Shinsengumi, but as far as I could tell, a deputy commander outright a colonel.
伊藤さんさえいてくれれば、私がここでなすべきことも残りわずかだ。
With Ito here, there's very little left for me to do. I hadn't even thought of it that way. Sana felt that Ito was a threat to his own position. An awkward silence fell across the room.
でも僕は伊藤さん好きじゃないな。
So, I don't like him. Okita was the first to speak.
まあ確かにな。嫌な目をしたやつだとは思う。
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's something about the way he looks at you.
だよな。気取ってるっつうか、人を見下してるっつうか。
Exactly. I don't know how to put it. Like, he's sort of uppity, you know? Like, he's looking down on you or something. But there was a good deal of nodding and agreeing among the three of them for a few moments while I sat and thought. Truth be told, I didn't feel particularly comfortable around Deputy Commander Ito either. It wasn't that he was a bad person, per se, only that he was, how to say it, off-putting? Yeah, the way he looks just looks off-putting. That's what. Sorry. I'm so mean. My bad. Ito's thin smile had spread across his face when Sana voiced his objection to Hijikata's plan, and now he turned and spoke.
三男さんは相変わらず大変に考えの深い方ですわね。
Why don't your lips move like everyone else's? You're just perpetually stuck in a smile as he talks, unlike the others who move their mouth. You weren't important enough to get mouth moving, apparently. Sorry, but you got blinking eyes and breathing. I had to make sure. I'm like, let me stare at you a little bit. Are you moving? You always think of all the possibilities, Sana. I'm impressed, and I fear you may be overthinking this. It could be a problem, yes, but his tone was differential, but it didn't quite match his words.
まあ、左腕は使い物にならないそうですが、それも些細な問題ではないかしら。
Oh, hell no. Don't you think a slightly greater problem would be that your left arm is utterly useless? Oh, hell no. He went there. Oh, you know, to stop all of us from, like, fighting him all of a sudden. Like, oh, hell no, you did not just say that to our buddy. None of her warmth remained in the room. Was abruptly gone.
見客としては生きていけずとも、お気になさることはありませんわ。
Of course, you need be useless even if you can no longer serve as a soldier.
三男さんはその才覚と心慮で、新選組と私を十分に助けてくれそうですもの。
I don't like voicing this guy. He's mean. I'm sure your wit and foresight will continue to be a great asset to Shinsengumi and myself. It was as if Ito had taken a knife and driven it straight into Sana's heart. I saw his shoulders sag, almost as if he had been punched in the stomach, and all around the room, jaws were set and knuckles turned white.
伊藤さん、今のはどういう意味だ？
Perhaps I didn't hear you right, Ito. Hijikata's voice was cold and sharp, like the sound of a blade slicing across a whetstone.
あんたの言うように、三男さんは優秀な論客だ。
Sana's smart, like you said.
けどな、三男さんは見客としてもこの新選組に必要な人間なんだよ。
Go Hijikata, go Hijikata. But more than that, he's a swordsman, this Shinsengumi. He is not useless, and he is not replaceable. Hijikata's last words erupted from his mouth in a snarl, and there was no mistaking their meaning.
ですが、私の腕は。
But my arm is... He couldn't even seem to bring himself to finish. No matter how much they might need a swordsman of his skill, Sana could no longer wield a blade. They both knew his arm would never heal, and Hijikata's desperate defense of his friend had likely only made Sana feel worse.
あら、私としたことが失礼いたしました。その腕が治るのであれば何よりですが。
Oh, dear. That's terribly rude of me. Truly, there could be no better news than hearing that your arm has healed. I don't like you. Go down. Ito's smile fooled no one, and Sana fell silent. Damn it! He only muttered it under his breath, but was close enough to hear. Too late, Hijikata had realized his mistake. This was the first time I've seen Hijikata so worked up. He might have been harsh, but he almost always projected an air of control. Perhaps Sana's injury worried him enough to allow the mask to slip.
伊藤さん。
Ito? Kondo was clearly choosing his words carefully in a very desperate attempt to change the subject.
もしよければ、大使たちの稽古でも見学に行きませんかね。
If you care to, perhaps you might come and have a look at our training regimen. Ito's eyes narrowed and his mouth curved in a small smile.
まあ、素敵なお誘いですね。ぜひご一緒させていただきますわ。
My, how thoughtful of you. Yes, of course. I'd love to have a look.
男たちの汗臭さへ浸りに行くのも実に愉快なことじゃございませんか。
Ah, the training room, air heavy with sweat of men straining to better themselves. Truly a delight. I'm sorry, it just makes it sound like he's really into men. But at the same time, it could just mean he just likes seeing hardworking men. There's nothing horribly wrong with that. It just sounded weird to me. I'm sorry. So sorry.
汗臭さですか。確かに道場は熱気がこもってるかもしれませんな。
Yeah, see, that's something I was expecting someone to think it's musty, not, oh, the sweet tang. I'd be like, what? Sort of men? Yes, I suppose you do have a point. The training room has grown rather musty. Ito could be a very peculiar person. The two men left the room, chatting together as if nothing was wrong. All eyes turned towards Sana.
サンナさん、あんな奴の言うことなんざ気にする必要ねえからな。
Sana, don't listen to that asshole, okay? He left too. Sana said nothing. He slipped silently and left the room.
サンナンさんもかわいそうだよな。最近は大使連中からも避けられてる。
Man, I feel bad for him. Even the men are avoiding him these days. What? It's the first I'd heard of such a thing. But then again, I didn't normally see anyone but the captains. I had no idea.
誰に対してもあの調子だからな。大使も怯えちまって近寄りたがらねえんだ。
Well, he's kind of been a jerk lately. I imagine that's why. It wasn't hard for me to see why they would feel that way. So it had gotten even worse in the last several weeks.
昔はああじゃなかったんだけどな。表面的には親切で面倒見が良かったし。
He wasn't always like that, you know. Back in the day, he was always acting like he was looking out for everybody.
だな。あんなに優しかった外面が今は見る影もねえや。
Yeah, he was really nice. At least on the surface. Nothing left of that now. Oh. Do you really mean that? The way they spoke, it sounded as if the kindness Sana had shown was always a Faticade.
近藤さんもなんだってあんなのが気に入ったんですかね。
What the hell does Kondo see in that Ito guy? Okita and Hijikata had largely ignored Nakagura and Harada, but their faces were dark and stormy. It wasn't difficult to guess why.
んなこと俺が知るかよ。どうせ口先三寸で丸め込まれたんだろう。
How the hell would I know? Probably just pull the wool over Kondo's eyes with some well-spoken bullshit.
じゃあ土方さんが返品してきてくださいよ。新選組にこんなのいりませんって。
Why don't you get rid of him, Hijikata? Tell him Shinsengumi doesn't need him. Hijikata let out a frustrated sigh and pinched the bridge of his nose. Oh, he's so pissed.
近藤さんが許可するわけねえだろう。しっかり伊藤に浸水してるみてえだしな。
Don't let Kondo go for that. He adores Ito.
伊藤と一緒に加入した連中もそんな扱いされちゃ黙ってねえだろう。
Besides, when he joined, he brought a bunch of men with him. You think they wouldn't make a stink if we kicked him out? Ichikata was right. He didn't like it any more than Okita did, but they were in a tight spot.
役に立たない人だな。無茶を通すのが鬼副長の仕事でしょうに。
Well, damn! Aren't you supposed to be the demon? The commander from hell? You're supposed to make the impossible happen.
だったらSouji、てめえが副長やれ。んで、伊藤派の連中を屯所から追い出せ。
Fine, Souji. How about we make you the commander? Then you can kick Ito and his guys out, right?
嫌ですよ、そんなめんどくさいの。
Hell no. That's way too much trouble. He gave a grin as he laughed, but when he finished, he sighed and his face fell. It looked like everyone was unhappy with Ito, but none of them knew quite what to do about him. Do you dislike Ito too, Saito? I had noticed earlier, but he had kept quiet while the others commiserated, and I was curious what he thought. He looked at me for a moment, then spoke.
さまざまな考えを持つ者が所属してこそ組織は広がりを見せるものだ。
As an organization grows, it will expand to include people who have differing ideas and points of view. Then, was he supporting Ito's appointment to deputy commander? I was about to ask when he continued speaking.
しかし無理な多様化を進めれば内部から瓦解を始める可能性もある。
However, if one attempts to force this sort of diversity, then the organization will begin to rot from within. Oh. His words hung in the air, a dark omen for the future of Shinsengumi. It was considerate of Ito to join, but his presence seemed to be a recipe for dissension, if not outright disaster. The setting sun glowed through the windows with a warm, rich red, and we decided to move outside in hope that it might raise our spirits. It's cold. Alright, well, I just kind of chopped off that window. Despite the sun, it seemed that spring was still far away. There's not even snow on the ground. The trees are very green for winter, I must say. In, what is it, February? I wasn't too fond of Ito, but it was Sana and his condition that truly worried me. I really wish his arm would just heal. The arm, or perhaps more accurately, the lack of it, had been the source of his change in personality. You know, the guy has... I just don't get what's wrong with his arm. Like, he has 2 arms. Like, what's wrong? Go into detail. What's wrong with his arm exactly? Other than, I guess it's just weaker now? It feels like they're saying. Or something got cut. I mean, his whole arm's still there. It shows in the show. Or in the picture, so unless they didn't update his spray, then that's kind of awkward. I'm guessing it's like whatever wound he did made so they can't grasp it completely or whatever, or the scar messed with it. I don't know. I'm so confused. Still, as nice it would be for Sana's arm to simply start working again, that seemed like the stuff of a child's fable, not real life. That was what I remembered.
薬でも何でも使ってもらうしかないですね。三男さんも納得してくれるんじゃないかな。
If push comes to shove, he'll have to take it. I don't think Sana's just going to give up.
Souji! めったなこと言うもんじゃねえ。幹部が新選組入りしてどうするんだよ。
Don't jinx him, Souji. It's kind of bad if officers start joining the corps. Shinsengumi had some sort of something. I didn't know what it did exactly, or even what sort of thing it was, but from the way they all talked about it, there was some manner of very unpleasant side effects. No, wait, I do remember something. Yes, from what I heard, it seemed that it was the capacity to heal wounds. It has something to do with the corpse. And it's also something I'm not supposed to know about. If they learned how much I picked up or what I put together on my own, I had no doubt that I would be in serious trouble. It was possible they would even kill me. Still, if I could figure any of it out, perhaps I could do something to help. I'm a daughter of a well-educated doctor, after all. I like to think that I had a little more knowledge of medicine than the average person. The question remained, then, what should I do? Investigate, return to my room. I think Hijikata will kill me. I'm assuming I'm not supposed to be out here again still. I don't think they like me wandering around, so we can think about this in our room. It's warm there too. So let's go back to our room. Perhaps it would be best to just return to my room. I didn't want to get in trouble for wandering around, and I didn't want to find myself in anyone's way. I'll just stay here. It's rather dull, certainly, but better a dull evening than the alternative. I sound mean and cruel, though. I'm just like, screw it, fuck it all. I don't even know where I Sana. I'm going to my room. Sounds so mean, but they did say they'll kill me if I did anything like that, so let's be on the safe side of things. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the compound exploded with activity. Had something happened? I waited for a few moments of activity to settle down, but it did no such thing. What? Something was wrong. I could feel it. I struggled against it for as long as I could, but eventually my curiosity got the better of me. There must be someone in the common room. I can ask them.
まさか三男君が自ら薬に手を出すとはな。
Oh, that doesn't sound good. To think that someone would have done this to himself.
なるべく三男さんの動きに注意してろって言ったじゃねえか。
Didn't I tell you not to let him out of your sight? Was some part of that difficult to understand? Hijikata's voice echoed out from the common room, quietly furious. I I tried to get their attention, but instinct had driven me to the very corner of the room, and I neither saw nor heard.
部屋を出てったのには気づいてた。けど、薬を飲むとは思わねえだろ、普通。
I did see him leave his room, but come on, how was I supposed to know he's going to do this?
変なもん持ってたようには見えなかったか。薬を管理してたのはあの人だもんな。
He's in charge of the stuff, so you could have gotten it easy enough, sure, but he didn't look like he was carrying anything. Nakagura was angry, certainly, but it wasn't all directed outward.
自分が使う量くらいなら簡単に用意できたってことか。
I guess we wouldn't have known if he had taken any, huh?
確かにあの薬を使えば腕の治る可能性もあるんだろうが。
I mean, I suppose there's a chance the treatment would heal his arm, but
あれは失敗作なんだろう。飲んだ連中もみんな血に狂っちまった。
it didn't work, did it? Everyone who took it went crazy. At last, I began to understand. Sanan had taken some of whatever treatment it was Shinsengumi was so desperate to keep secret.
三男総長は独自に薬の改良を続けていたと聞きます。
I believe Colonel Sana has been working on improving it.
理性を保ったまま腕を完治させる。その成功にかけたのでしょうが。
He hoped to repair his arm before it deteriorated too far. Perhaps he felt he was finished, or at least close enough. He gave a small shrug.
失敗を悟った三男総長は、Soujiの制止も聞かず、自陣に臨んだと。
Whatever the case, when he realized he had failed, he ignored Soji's counsel and attempted suicide. Suicide? The words were past my lips before I had even thought them. As one, all eyes in the room turned toward me. Oh, hi, guys. I was just worried.
なんでお前がここにいるんだ?
Just what the hell are you doing here? It was an accusation, not a question. The longer his cold gaze kept me pinned, the tighter my throat became until I could barely breathe, let alone speak. A strange combination of anxiety, suspicion, and animosity that I had felt before on the night I had first come to the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. Now as then, I understood the meaning of that gaze. They were deciding whether or not to kill me.
なあ、トシ。そろそろ彼女にも話してやっていいんじゃないか。
Toshi, I think it's time you told her what's going on.
行動さんの娘なら知る権利もあるだろう。
She's Kondo's daughter, after all. She has a right to know. I felt my eyes go wide at the mention of my father's name. Hijikata's gaze slid to Kondo, and it looked as if he had eaten something unpleasant. After a moment, however, he gave a long, exasperated sigh and turned back to me.
お前は新選組に必要ない。
Oh, what? The Shinsengumi doesn't need you. What?
行動さん探しには役立つかもしれねえが、お前がいなくても多少不便になるだけだ。
There's a chance you'll help us find Kodo, but even without your help, we'll find him eventually. A minor setback at worst. Although it wasn't their primary duty, the Shinsengumi had the watch for when a manhunt was necessary. The watch? An organization that monitored internal Shinsengumi affairs and conducted external covert reconnaissance, and they reported directly to Commander Hijikata. Ah! Like, ninja guy? I forgot his name, that's horrible. Someone who knew the target, such as myself, would make their job easier, but that was all. I was no more than a means to an end, and one of questionable value at that. He was right. They didn't need me.
不穏な動きがあれば即座に殺される立場だ。そうてめえの肝に銘じてから話を聞け。
You do anything weird, we'll kill you. I'm about to tell you what's going on here. Keep in mind that your life is in our hands. I swallowed. Then, you aren't going to kill me? Hijikata narrowed his eyes.
まだ殺さねえよ。もっともいつ死のうと困らねえがな。
We aren't going to kill you yet, but don't think that means you're in the clear. Oh, it was sort of an acceptance. I was glad, I suppose, but I wasn't going to be killed. But I was still far from happy. I've been with the Shinsengumi for nearly a year, and my position with them hadn't changed. It shouldn't have surprised me, but for some reason, that truth cut deep.
今までは君にも伏せていたのだが、高堂さんはもともと薬の開発が担当でな。
He never told you, but Kodo was here because he was developing a treatment. You mean, I chose my words carefully. The one that Sana took? When Kodo nodded, it was as if there were great weight resting on him.
この薬はもともと幕府の高官が持ち込んだものだ。
It was first brought to us by one of the shogun's men. He explained that the concoction was said to have come originally from the west. Apparently, the shogunate had ties to countries across the ocean.
人間の筋力と自然治癒能力を爆発的に高める渡来の薬物。
It was a foreign drug of sorts that would tremendously augment a man's strength and ability to heal. Moreover, he continued, it had the capability to increase a man's strength tenfold, though increased strength would make him slower. It also granted incredible healing powers, but piercing the heart or brain would still kill.
ただし副作用として投与された人間の精神は崩壊する。
But all of this came at a cost, the mind of any man who drank the concoction. What? It made sense now that I thought about it. That must have been what they meant by bloodlust.
新選組の大使を実験台に薬の改良を進めていたのが高堂さんだ。
It was Kodo who experimented on the warriors of Shinsengumi in an attempt to improve the drug. By diluting it, he was able to reduce the madness it brought to a more manageable level. My father was experimenting on people? I suspected my father had been involved in whatever Shinsengumi had been hiding from me. But to discover that he'd been experimenting on people? Making them go mad? It was almost too much to bear. Then, that night in the alley, Harada nodded.
薬を飲んだ奴らは前川邸にいる。
We keep the guys who've taken it at Maikawa House. What is that? A samurai family who own the estate adjacent to the Yagi family. They're also in Shinsengumi to house troops on their estate. That doesn't really tell me much, but okay. That's just someone's house they were all staying at. Got it.
血に触れない限りはおとなしくしてるし、俺らにとっちゃ御しやすい奴らだ。
As long as they don't get any blood, they stay pretty calm. If they were powerful but lacked any skill or technique, it was a simple thing for the captain to deal with those who got out of line.
幕府のお偉いさんからこの計画は秘密裏に進めるよう言われてる。
The Shogun's man told us we were supposed to keep all of this under wraps. In the Yagi's house, we lived side by side with the Yagi family, which meant the rank and file soldiers weren't allowed to live there as well. The Maikawa family, by contrast, had fled their house as soon as the Shinsengumi had arrived, making it the perfect place to conceal soldiers who had gone mad.
説明はそのくらいにしとけ。今は三男さんのことが先決だろうが。
Alright, we've told her enough. We need to think about Sana. His words made it clear that my education was at an end.
あの薬は改良されてるんだ。まだクルーと決まったわけじゃねえ。
He managed to refine it after Kodo left, so there's a chance he won't lose it.
でもよ、今の三男さんは死にかけてるじゃねえか。
Well, yeah, but I mean, look at him. He's practically dead. That's right. Has Sanan tried to kill himself?
薬が作用してるんなら、どんな怪我だって治るはずだろうが。
Well, if that crap actually does what it's supposed to, then that cut isn't going to kill him. Hijikata's voice was low, almost a growl. Even from across the room, I felt like I could hear his teeth grinding.
近藤さん、あんたは三男さんを見といてくれるか。
Kondo, can you keep an eye on him?
どうせ今夜が峠だろう。生きるか死ぬか来るからな。
Tonight's going to tell if he lives or dies. Your cook's crazy.
行ってこよう。確か彼の部屋には掃除もいるのだったな。
Very well. Souji's with him, right? Kondo nodded toward Hijikata as he stood and made his way to Sanan's room.
三男さんの部屋へは誰も近づけるな。それが伊藤派の連中ならなおさらだ。
Each of his men weren't terribly fond of the shogun, so it stood to reason that Hijikata wouldn't want them finding out about the shogunate's secret experiments. Even apart from that, however, it was clear that Hijikata and the rest of the captains trusted Ito about as far as they could throw him. I'm sure they'd love to throw him like a football's length and run.
新八、前川邸の様子を見てきてくれ。
Sabachi, go check on the Maikawa house.
ああ、わかった。
Ah, got it. As he passed, Nagakura's eyes met mine for an instant, and I saw in them the same hostility I'd felt the night I arrived.
サイトは中庭で待機しろ。伊藤一派の警戒と牽制を頼む。
Saito, I want you in the inner courtyard. If Ito and his guys show up, keep them occupied.
佐之助は八木邸の外に出て、大使たちの動きを見張ってくれ。
Sanosuke, go keep an eye on the rest of the men. Saito and Harada nodded. At last, Hijikata turned to look at me. Hi.
お前も今は幹部のそばにいろ。
You? Go with one of the captains. I don't care who. Alright. In other words, he wanted to make sure I was supervised. Reasonable, I suppose, given the situation. But who did I want to go with?
前川邸はやめとけよ。連中、夜は気が立ってるからな。
Stay out of Mayakawa house, Chizuru. They get kind of rowdy at night. Nakagura on his way to Mayakawa house where the men who had taken the Shogun's concoction were kept. It didn't really sound like somewhere I wanted to go. If I lost the inner courtyard with Saito, or the outside with Harada, Hijikata hadn't said differently, so I assumed he would remain in the common room. After a moment's thought, I made up my mind. See, common room, courtyard, go outside. Since we're for Hijikata and better place to be even with the captain, I'll just stay with him and not go anywhere. Just sit here in this little corner, make ourselves comfortable. Saito and Harada had already left. The common room grew more and more uncomfortable the longer I sat, much more so than I anticipated. Not that I bore him any particular ill will, more that I simply didn't know what to do. His face was stern as always, with a thin line across his forehead, and about his eyes betrayed a greater unrest.
お前は
You. Yes, me? In the awkward silence of the room, his voice was like a gunshot. It was like twitch. Oh god. I jumped.
腐っちまってる姿しか知らねえだろうが、三男さんはもともと才もあり腕も立つ人だ。
You never really knew Sanan before he got like this. He's a smart man, and he's talented. Well, I did notice he was very, sharp. Hijikata gave me a short bark of laughter.
新選組ができる前から俺の兄貴分みたいなもんだった。
He was like a brother to me, even before we were part of the Shinsengumi. Hijikata had never spoken to me about himself, or indeed about anything at length. I didn't know why he had chosen this moment to change the policy, but I was happy he had. Perhaps I thought he didn't see me as such an outsider after all.
あの薬を捨てちまわなかったのも三男さんの腕を治すためだった。
The only reason I didn't throw that crap away was because I thought he might be able to use it to heal his arm. We knew it was dangerous, but we thought maybe we could improve it somehow.
俺たちには三男さんが必要なんだ。
We need Sanan.
あの人を失うわけにはいかねえんだよ。
I thought he was done. My bad. We need Sanan. Can't lose him. Oh. Hijikata looked tired and drawn, more so than I had ever seen him before. His face was tight with strain, and he moved with the labored speed of a man who had pushed himself beyond his limits. As before, as commander, he had been calm and level-headed. Never before had he looked so utterly spent. It'll be okay. I struggled for some words to reassure him. I regretted the ones I had chosen as soon as I said them. How could I stay quiet, though, when he was in so much pain? I'm sure Sanan will be all right. The lines of his face softened, but only slightly.
あの人の精神が薬に勝つよ
He's got a
うかけるしかねえな。
he's got a strong spirit. I just hope it's strong enough. It was a nice heart-to-heart, though. At long last, morning came. One by one, the captains returned to the common room, tired and bleary-eyed from a long night. It was Inoue's entrance that broke the silence.
峠は越えたようだよ。
It seems he has made it through the hardest part. The room breathed a silent sigh of relief.
今はまだ寝てる。静かなもんだ。
I keep cutting them off. I'm so sorry. I think they're done. It's like, nope. Not bad. He's still asleep. Looks pretty peaceful.
サンナンさん、狂っちまってるのかい？
So, has Sonic gone crazy? Inoue simply shook his head.
確かなことは起きるまでわからんな。見た目には昨日までと変わらないんだが。
We don't know for sure until he wakes up, but he looks like he has always has. That was when the door slid open.
おはようございます。皆さん。
You. Go away. I don't like you. Even if you're wearing purple-ish clothes, that might be pale. I don't know. Lightish blue. Good morning, everyone. The tension that had relaxed at Inoue's entrance pulled tight as a drum. At least, I thought, they don't do this when I walk into the room. Then I realized I was comparing myself to Ito and wondered why on earth I would do something like that.
あら、顔色が優れませんのね。昨晩の騒ぎと何か関係がありまして？
My, you all look rather glum. Something to do with last night's excitement, I presume. His position wasn't just the result of politics then. There would be no simply ignoring the incident, it appeared.
いや、そうだな。
No. Desperately, Kondo's eyes flew across the room looking for someone who might give him a story.
よし、ごまかせ、サノ。
Just start it out loud. Like, it's not weird at all. So make something up.
あ、俺が？実は昨日。
What? Me? Well, you see, yesterday.
大根役者は出しゃばらないでくれるかな。
You're a miserable actor. Stay out of this. Okita's smile was bitter and thin. They sat back down.
そういうことは説明の上手な人に任せましょうね。
Now, how about you leave the explanation to someone who can string two words together? Hmm? He looked at Saito expectantly, and the other men nodded once.
伊藤参謀がお察しの通り、昨晩、豚署内にて事件が発生しました。
As you suspect, Deputy Commander Ito, there was an incident yesterday here at our headquarters. Furthermore, he continued, the situation was grim. Saito then proceeded to outline as much of the truth as he could, his eyes never wavering from Ito's face.
参謀のお心に負荷をかけてしまう結果は、我々も望むところではありません。
Your eyes are not wavering, but they are closed. We should not wish to trouble you with such matters just yet, Deputy Commander. By the way of apology, he made a short bow.
今晩にでも改めた場を設け、お伝えさせていただきたく存じます。
If you wish, I would be happy to provide you with a more detailed report this afternoon.
まあ。
Oh my. Ito's eyes narrowed and he looked slowly around the hall, a mischievous smile playing about his lips.
事情はわかりましたよ。今晩のお呼ばれ、心待ちにしておりますわ。
Very well. I comprehend your situation. I shall look forward to receiving details this evening. Another strange smile. Ito stood, nodded slightly, and left the room. So awkward. Go away.
なんだか見逃してもらえたみたいだけど、もしかして斉藤君の対応が気に入ったのかな？
Feels like he'll let it slide this time. Maybe I just like how Saito handled it. What? Yes, Saito had been respectful, and at least on the surface forthcoming, both of which had likely pleased Ito. But what had he meant about letting it slide? I guess I don't know slang.
幹部が勢揃いしてる場に三男さんだけいねえんだぞ。
We shouldn't have let him see us all together. Let's get him confused.
あの人絡みで何か起きたってことぐらい伊藤ならすぐカンパできんだろうが。
The only man missing was Sana. It won't take Ito long to realize something has happened to him. Oh. What Ito had likely guessed out was that it had taken place, but decided not to press the issue. I was beginning to see what Kondo saw in him. There was certainly no doubt that he was clever and observant. Ah! I had looked up just in time to see Sana shuffle through the door, His face was pale, but apart from that, he looked much like he always had.
三男さん、起きてていいのかい？
Sana, are you sure you should be up and about? Sana's only response was a small, sad smile.
少し気だるいようですね。これも薬の副作用でしょう。
I'm only a little tired. A side effect of my new condition, I suppose.
あの薬を飲んでしまうと日中の活動が困難になりますから。
Those who have taken the drug often find that working during the daylight hours is especially taxing. In other words, it was working. Sana was already transformed.
私はもう人間ではありません。
I am no longer a human being, he says with a smile upon his face. Cheerful as can be. Does your arm work since you had to go through all this? He smiled.
だが、君が生きていてくれてよかった。俺たちはそれで十分だと。
Who cares what you are? You're alive. That's good enough for me. I could see the beginnings of tears well up in Kondo's eyes, but the rest of the men were more reserved. They were happy to see their friend alive. What had his resurrection cost him?
それで腕は治ったんですか？
So, your arm's better, I'm guessing.
まだ本調子ではありませんから自分でもよくわからないのですが。
I haven't fully recovered yet, so I would withhold any final judgment, but he lifted his left arm, the arm that the day before had hung limp at his side, and flexed his hand.
治っているようですね。少なくとも不便がない程度には。
It seems to have been healed. At the very least, it is no longer a hindrance. Thank goodness. If he had gone through all of that just to find his arm still lame and useless.
今の三男さんは昼間に弱いんだろう。そんな状態でタイムに参加できんのか？
You can't go out in the sun though, right? Will you still be able to fight with us? If daylight drained one's energy, then living a normal life would be difficult enough. Never mind fighting alongside the Shinsengumi.
私は死んだことにすればいい。
Best you simply say I die. His voice was calm, almost careless.
これから私は薬の成功例として新選組を束ねていこうと思っています。
From now on, I will serve in the corps to remind them and us that success is possible.
それ本気か？自分が何言ってるのか分かってんのか？
What? Have you lost your mind? Do you know what you're saying?
分かっていますとも。長倉君こそ忘れたのですか？
Of course I do. Do you, Nagakura?
我々は薬の存在を伏せるよう幕府から命じられているのですよ。
The shogun had ordered us to keep this thing a secret. Nagakura fell silent.
私さえ死んだことにすれば、今までのように薬の存在は隠し通せる。
If I, die, the shogun's secret remains so. Leaving no room for argument, he continued.
薬から副作用が消えるのであれば、それを使わない手はないでしょう。
Besides, if the side effects can be managed or even removed, then what reason do we have not to use it? To a man that were against his idea, though none of them said anything, who would want to consign a friend to a life of secrecy, lived in the shadows?
そもそも薬の実験は幕府からのお達しでもあるしな。
We were given this task by the shogun himself. Sana's suggestion might not have been pleasant, but it was logical. The drug was dangerous, yes, but if it could be refined, the side effects removed, it would be a powerful tool, a powerful weapon.
それしかないか。
I suppose this is our only choice. And with his word, it was decided.
三男さんが自分で選んだ道ですし、せめて責任を持って進んでください。
Well, this is what you asked for, Sana. Make sure you don't screw it up. It wasn't exactly a vote of confidence, but Sana simply responded with a smile.
短所移転の話、冗談では済まされなくなったな。
This means moving to a new location isn't something we put off any longer.
三男さんを伊藤派の目から隠すには広い短所が必要だ。 今のままでは狭すぎる。
If we're going to hide Sana from Ito and his men, then we need more space. This place won't cut it. Saito nodded.
薬による増強計画を立てるのであれば、なおのこと移転を急ぐべきかと思います。
If we intend to begin research again, then a move is even more urgent. Sanan's fate decided, they turned to a discussion of where they might find their new headquarters. Whatever my status was, it did not extend to be included in that discussion. Living with the Shinsengumi for the past year had been quite an experience. Lately, I had felt that perhaps it wasn't so bad. My life had become almost fun. But the truth I couldn't escape was I was only valuable to them because of my concern to my father, a truth they had made painfully clear to me. These men had lived with one another for years. My own time with them amounted to little more than a drop in the bucket. They had no reason to treat me as anything more than a casual prisoner, or at best, a serving girl. I had reminded myself of that countless times, but it was only served to deepen my sense of loneliness. Oh, that's kind of sad. But we finished the chapter, or at least that section of the chapter, and hopefully, since it's now June, things have gotten better for us at least. Anyway, oh no, spoiler alert at the bottom. It's like, don't look. I can't reach over there. But that wraps up this episode of Hakuoki with Hijikata. That was a good section, and I'm so glad Sana's okay. So yeah, that's the thing. Woo! Go Sana. Alright, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Until then, bye, Kaze out. Have a good one, guys.